Okay, we're going to look at something called a one-to-one function. And the easiest way of understanding that is just, does it pass what's called a horizontal line test? And since this horizontal line would intersect our function twice, this is not what we call one-to-one. All right, this is one-to-one, yes, because there's no place that a horizontal line would hit that function more than once. Okay, so the formal mathematical way of saying this is that a function with a domain A is called one-to-one if no two elements, so those would be x values, the domain, that's x values, have the same image, that's y values. So basically, if you have two different inputs, then their output should be different as well. Okay, so to check this, what we're going to do is, well, we can use what we know about graphs. This is absolute values, and it's subtracted 2, so it's slid over 2. So we have our classic V-shaped absolute value graph. This fails the horizontal line test, so this is not a one-to-one function. And algebraically, we could see this as well, because if you, let's see, if you could get an output of 2 in a few different ways. So if we had x equals 0 and x equals 4, then f of 0 would be 0 minus 2, and that would be absolute value of negative 2, which is 2. But look, if we have f of 4, we get 4 minus 2, which also has an output of 2. And that breaks the rules of one-to-one functions. So that is not allowed. Okay, let's check this one. Just knowing what I know, I've got a horizontal, a y-intercept of 1, a slope of 3. So just being able to recognize what the shape of the graph will look like will really help you. This is one-to-one. Okay, so this is 1-to-1. Now to prove something that we do not have a one-to-one function, all you need to do is give one counterexample. To prove something it's trickier because they have to show that it is true for every single possible point you might give me. Okay, so what I'm going to do is look at this, because that allows me to know if something is one-to-one. So basically, if you have the same output, that means you needed to have the same input going in. So let's look at if we have our function with different inputs. Let's look and see what those outputs would look like. So inputting x1, we would get 3 times x1 plus 1. That would be our output. And 3 times x2 plus 1 would be our output for g of x2. Subtracting 1 from both sides, that would give us that 3x1 is equal to 3x2. And then dividing both sides by 3, you would get that x1 must equal x2, which shows that if you have the same output, then we must have had the same input. So we could say, therefore, g of x is 1-to-1. Okay, so an inverse of a function, if we're starting with something that's one-to-one, with a domain of A and a range of B, then the inverse is that has a domain of B and a range of A. Okay, just careful, these are not negative exponents, those are saying the inverse functions. So this will make more sense if we do a few examples. Okay, so go into F is going 3. Okay, so out is coming -5. So we're supposed to find the inverse of -5. Okay, so basically you are going to go and try and figure out, well, who has an output of -5? Okay, what was coming out of my original function as output is now my input. Okay, so what went in is the 3, so out comes 3 now as my output. Okay, let's try the next one. We're supposed to find the inverse of f evaluated at 7. Okay, so I go look who has an output of 7. It's 0. Oops. Okay, so that corresponds to an input of 0 into f. So the output of the inverse function will be that 0. Okay, inverse of f evaluated at 0. Who has an output of 0? Here it is. And so that corresponds to an input of -4. And so now in the world of inverses, that used to be input, now it's output. All right, so these are really the functions that undo each other. So inverse f of f, we just end up with that same input of x, and f of the inverse of f is still, you were just left with that regular input of x. So let me show you how this works. So if I'm going to verify that f and g are inverses, what I need to do is show that f of g of x is equal to x, and that g of f of x is equal to x. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on this. Okay, so g of x, the output is 1/2 x plus 1/2. Okay, so that's going to go in and be our input into f. So that would be, let's see, what does f do? F takes and multiplies our input and subtracts 1. So now I'm just going to work this out. Multiply 2, we'll distribute that in, so we would get x plus 1 minus 1, which is equal to x. So we verified that f of g of x equals x, and now we just need to go the other direction. Okay, so f, that took and multiplied our input times 2 and subtracted 1. Okay, so now that's going to go in and be our input into g. So let's see, g does, it takes 1/2 of our input and then adds a half. Okay, distributing our 1/2, we would get x minus 1/2 plus 1/2, which is x. Okay, so we just showed that these are inverses. So because those are true, therefore f and g are inverses. Okay, so we just showed that something is, we did some examples, and now let's figure out how we can actually find the inverse. Okay, so we're gonna write this, write whatever function we have. We can just write it where we have, instead of f of x, just use the y. And now solve for x if possible, and then just switch x and y. And what we end up with is the inverse. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to replace f of x, I'm just going to replace that with y. Okay, I'm going to solve for x, so adding 1 to both sides. Dividing both by 2, we would get either x is equal to 1/2 y plus 1/2, or we could have written it as y plus 1 all over 2. Okay, so I solve for x, and now I'm going to interchange the x and the y. Okay, so my inverse function is y equals 1/2 x plus 1/2. that's my inverse function. All right, let's do another example. Okay, so first things first, I'm just going to use a y instead of an f of x. Okay, so next I'm going to solve for x, and let's see, I think if I just multiplied both sides by x plus 3, and I'll distribute my y. So I've got xy plus 3y equals 2x minus 1. And I'm just going to bring everything having to do with x's to one side of the equation. So I'm going to move my 1 over. Xy plus 3y plus 1 equals 2x. And then I'm just going to go ahead and get all of my x's on one side. So we've got 3y plus 1 is equal to 2x minus xy. Let's go ahead and factor out an x. So we've got 2 minus y. Okay, and then I'm just going to divide both sides by 2 minus y because I'm trying to just get x alone. So this gives me that x is equal to 3y plus 1 all over 2 minus y. So I solve for x. Now I just switch those up. So I would have y equals 3x plus 1 all over 2 minus x. And this is my inverse function. So we can just write that. Instead of a y, we'll write that as our inverse function. There we go. All right, now graphically these are really fun because it just looks like you've put a mirror along this diagonal line, y equals x, and we're just reflecting the mirror or the image across that mirror. Okay, so I'm just going to here's my little mirror. Okay, and then I can just start reflecting these points. Let's see, I went over, up 1, 2, 3, over 1, 2, 3. Here's that one. Right, that just came and reflected across here. And now I need to do one over here as well. And I need to reflect this one. So I'm coming across. Sometimes it's easier if you do your x and your y. So this is negative 1, 1, 2, 3, negative 3. And this point is at negative 3, negative 1. You just switch your x and your y. This point right here is at 1, 0. And this point, its reflection is at 0, 1. This one is at 4. And what is it at? 1.5. So I need another point at 1.5 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There it is. 1.5, 4. Okay, and now I just draw that graph. And there's my inverse.